This alien really had a stroke of bad luck. As it set about destroying Earth, it failed to check the weather forecast. A bolt of lightning struck its spacecraft, instantly disintegrating it along with the core device. Talk about a classic case of dying before the battle even starts. At that moment, its attention shifted to a nearby house. A gust of chilly wind blew the door open. Harry hurried over to secure it, but noticed some bizarre tracks on the floor. Realizing an uninvited guest had entered, Harry grabbed an iron bar and started searching around. Gradually, a sinister creature descended from the ceiling. Startled, Harry backed up against a table, but without hesitation, he struck the creature. In the next second, the alien confronted him, its hands gripping Harry tightly. Just when it seemed neither could overpower the other, the alien extended two smaller hands and choked Harry, ultimately throwing him into the icy lake with a scream. Returning to Harry's room, it quickly morphed into his likeness. Its purpose was simple: to blend into human society under Harry's identity, retrieve the lost parts, and complete its mission before departing. For this, it even began learning human languages. That day, the town sheriff approached Harry hoping he would help solve a murder case. Although Harry initially wanted to decline, citing the Earth Survival Guide's advice that crowded places were dangerous, his abnormal refusal would surely raise suspicions. With no choice, he grudgingly agreed.
I'd say from the smell she's been dead at least 6 hours.
What the hell?
It turned out he was just the doctor's assistant, and the real body lay right beside him. Harry swiftly pulled back the blue cloth to reveal a scalpel embedded in the doctor's neck. It was clearly a deliberate act. To expedite his mission, he brazenly claimed the doctor had committed suicide. The sheriff, baffled, retorted sarcastically, "If you're so capable, show me how he could do that to himself." Harry, without offering an explanation, turned and fled. The mayor, anxious that an unsolved case would spread panic throughout the town, pleaded with Harry to perform an autopsy to uncover the truth. Hearing this, Harry thought it might be wise to thoroughly study human anatomy. Just then, a young boy abruptly stopped in the middle of the street. Now his cover was completely blown. The chance of encountering such a genetic anomaly was 1 in a million. To meet one in a town of just about 1,000 people was dreadfully unlucky. To avoid further complications, Harry went to the boy's house that night, intent on silencing him. Startled by a noise, the boy woke up and scanned around but found nothing unusual. Soon after, Harry emerged.
Do not make a sound. That's good. Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to kill you.
His logic is indeed perplexing, calming him down one moment and planning to eliminate him the next.
Hey, what's going on? There's an alien under the bed!
Despite the boy's eloquent pleas, they believed not a single word. In the end, Harry's plan failed. The next day, Harry helped his assistant move, expecting an ordinary day. However, upon leaving the house, they encountered her scumbag boyfriend, who pulled a weapon from his belt and aggressively told Harry to get lost. Persuaded by his assistant, Harry left. As Harry drove, his anger grew. He was not accustomed to such humiliation. He decided to go back and teach the man a lesson. Upon his return, he found the assistant being bullied and flew into a rage. With immense strength, Harry could have easily strangled the man with one hand, but the assistant pleaded with him not to, eventually convincing him to spare the bully. Harry himself didn't notice the shift in his mentality. After more than 4 months on Earth, his emotions were no longer as cold as before. Space might be devoid of warmth, but human society had its own complexities. However, his immediate priority was to eliminate the human boy who could see his alien form.
This is some bull. Yeah.
This alien and the Earth boy had just begun their deadly rivalry. Both intent on killing the other, the boy plastered Harry's alien likeness all over town and even offered a hefty reward for his head. Yet, in the entire town, only he could see Harry as an alien. Everyone else saw his normal human disguise. A few months ago, he was sent to Earth to cause havoc, but an accident occurred before he even landed. Thus, he took on Harry's appearance and lay low. All was well until a nosy kid could see his true form, making him a liability. With time running short and his mission critical, Harry scoured all assassination manuals, but none seemed right. He considered changing his identity again to destroy Earth. Reflecting on the struggles of adapting to human life, he practiced smiling in the mirror until his muscles cramped. He struggled with toothpaste and went through countless cups before he learned how to drink from one. Then, he devised a new plan. He called the boy, claiming he had seen the alien leave town, hoping to continue his mission unnoticed.
I'm a post office man. I'm good with my eyes, and I saw that alien, and he's gone.
But his clumsy voice gave him away, and the boy mocked him relentlessly, angering Harry so much that he reverted to his alien voice and started arguing with the child.
SHIT is a bad word, stupid.
That's it. I'm going to kill him.
Continuing this way was futile, so he went to a bar to unwind, where the bartender inadvertently inspired him. To resolve the situation perfectly, he needed to stage an accident. Harry, after observing a happy family returning from shopping with their son diligently doing his homework and the father preparing a sumptuous dinner, concocts a sinister plan. Driven by a sudden inspiration for an accident, under the cover of night, he sneaks into their yard, and with pliers in hand, cuts the brake lines of the boy's bike, expecting a fatal accident. On the second day, Harry expressed his condolences to the mayor for the feigned death of his son too soon, secretly feeling pleased. However, the boy escapes with merely scratches, foiling Harry's plan. Frustrated, Harry then attempts to use an anesthetic as leverage, but the resilient boy doesn't succumb to his threats.
Are you going to be a good boy?
In a fit of impatience, Harry resorts to underhanded tactics to stitch the boy's minor wounds, leading to an utter defeat in their confrontation. Despite the boy's tenacity, his claims of seeing aliens turn him into the class liar, leading to bullying by his peers. When his mother consults Harry, the only doctor in town, for advice, Harry cynically suggests leaving town to escape the aliens. Meanwhile, the town experiences bizarre incidents. A skier, while ascending a mountain, misstepped and thought he was a goner. Miraculously, just a few meters above the ground, he found himself suspended in mid-air. Though his life was spared, he was left dangling, unable to move an inch. Days later, a rescue team arrived beneath the cliff and discovered the body. The skier had died from prolonged starvation. Tragically, next to him lay two falcons, also dead, frozen in the harsh conditions. Elsewhere, an old man fishing in the lake discovers a body, the real Harry, whose identity would be compromised if discovered by the police. Time is running out for the alien Harry to maintain his disguise. This might be the most unreliable doctor I've ever seen. With just one glance, he diagnosed the patient's condition. At that moment, a nurse approached. It turned out he had the wrong medical file. The doctor hurriedly reviewed the correct one. Then, he lifted the patient's chart and delved deeper, but still without any strategy. He resorted to searching for answers online. In the process, he accidentally snapped a photo. To prove he wasn't lying, he quickly took another photo, turning pretense into reality. Turns out, this doctor couldn't treat illness at all. He was just an alien stranded on Earth. And Harry, the man he inadvertently killed, was also found. It looks like big trouble is brewing for him. News of the incident spread like wildfire across the small town, and he panicked upon hearing it. The sheriff suggested a DNA test to confirm the deceased's real identity. What happened next was surreal. The guy compared a sample with his own foot. Everything matched, even a mole. Then, the sheriff demanded a skin sample for analysis. It turned out that every town resident except newborns was documented. Upon hearing this, Harry hatched a plan. A child had just come in for a checkup. Harry bamboozled the parents, claiming the child's leg skin was excessively long and needed surgery. He insisted that without the procedure, the child would develop various diseases and even suffer reduced IQ. "If we don't do this today, you're not leaving," he declared. Thus, he successfully obtained the child's skin and struck a deal with the sheriff. Although that was settled, he arrived home later to find it surrounded by police, and his anxiety skyrocketed again. The sheriff had expanded the search area. Harry stayed in his tent all day, pacing nervously until the police dog seemed to find something. They discovered the body had washed ashore, and Harry and the dog began to scuffle over it, a risky move that could expose him. He dragged the body back home. Just as he was looking for a hiding spot, his assistant arrived with her friend, who needed to use the bathroom. This terrified Harry. The friend, harboring a crush on Harry, was just trying to get a better sense of him under the guise of a visit. Observing Harry's meticulously arranged vitamins by A, B, C, she surmised his compulsive tendencies. Meanwhile, Harry managed to move the body upstairs, as the friend flirtatiously hinted at her interest. Harry couldn't care less and wished they'd just leave. No sooner had they left than the sheriff arrived, with the dog heading straight for the basement, barking all the way. Harry inwardly cursed at the persistence of Earth's creatures. The dog barked madly at the fridge. On opening it, they found only frozen meat, luckily not digging deeper where the real body was hidden beneath the beef. Elsewhere, a cowboy was in a bar, loudly discussing aliens and claiming to have seen one. He stepped outside only to have his neck snapped.
Kill him! We're not supposed to kill people, those aren't our orders!
Looks like you and I have different orders.
That unlucky alien had always dreamt of destroying Earth. Under the watchful eyes of his neighbors, he gradually became the social star of the town. Not only would kids eagerly throw balls his way, but he even married another alien and had a child, leading a life so sweet it was almost saccharine. However, the tranquility was shattered by the arrival of a mysterious package containing a device designed to destroy Earth. Upon activation, the device instantly vaporized all humans in the town. Fortunately, it was all just a dream for Harry, a reflection of his subconscious desires. That day, the town mayor invited him over. When Harry saw the mischievous kid who had repeatedly targeted him and plastered his images all over town, he was anything but calm. If he had found the chance, he would have made that bratty kid reincarnate. However, the kid had learned his lesson and greeted Harry with a big hug, sneakily stealing his car keys in the process. Sometimes, appearances can be deceiving. Using a walkie-talkie, the kid instructed his friend outside to sneak out with the keys and make a duplicate, aiming to break into Harry's home to uncover his alien secret. Meanwhile, the convenience store was too crowded. Even the sheriff brazenly cut in line. On the other side, Harry and the kid were enjoying their meal immensely. To buy time, he confidently showcased his homemade solar system model, while his friend pedaled his bike as if it were a race car. Then, the boy decided to recite his homework aloud, attempting at noon, hoeing weeds under the hot sun, but quickly realized his knowledge was too limited to switch to a Chinese textbook without several hours of effort. As it grew late, they had to leave, but luckily, the little girl completed her mission just in time. The next day, the two kids rode their bikes to find Harry, timing it perfectly with his volunteer clinic day, ensuring a smooth journey. When the two mischievous kids arrived at Harry's house, the boy boldly pulled out a hat made of tin foil. Unexpectedly, the girl had been smarter, wearing it on her head as if to block alien brainwaves. They pried open the basement door and snuck inside, where they discovered an apple floating in midair. That evening, when Harry noticed an extra bicycle and glimpsed the unconscious kids, he quickly wrapped them up, planning to dispose of the bodies discreetly. Just then, he saw a strange woman. To his shock, the unfortunate fellow apparently had a wife, which made him drop the kids in surprise, anticipating some delightful developments. Meanwhile, the mayor, alerted by the children's disappearance, had called the police, only to find himself waking up in his own closet, under everyone's watchful eyes. He recounted his experience at Harry's house, but not a single person believed him. Now, he could only pin his hopes on his friend, but the girl, somewhat frightened, lied, claiming she saw nothing, and the matter was left unresolved. The next day, the mayor came with his son to apologize.
Sorry.
Good. Now I do not accept your apology.
The tone of his voice didn't seem quite human. Clearly, he was pleased, believing he had finally gained the upper hand after a long struggle. To expand his victory, he laid out a stack of photos for the boy to pick from.
Okay, Max. I'm going to give you a simple test. Which one of these people is me?
But in the boy's eyes, the other was a complete monster, unrecognizable from his original form. Thus, he claimed the boy had a cognitive disorder and persuaded his parents to send him to a special school. The boy felt deeply wronged, thinking the battle targeted his weaknesses, while his parents prepared for the worst. The next day, the boy and his friends went to negotiate with Harry, but somehow the conversation turned to the odd topic of saliva. This goes to show that one should never judge this man by human standards. The children then began to hold their breath as a threat, assuming that if they passed out, Harry would be implicated. Initially, he remained calm and continued eating. However, as the restaurant filled up, the risk of an incident grew, potentially delaying his mission to annihilate Earth's 8 billion inhabitants. Eventually, for the sake of a peaceful development opportunity between humans and aliens, he compromised. Thus, through great difficulties, humans and aliens finally brokered a chance for peace, but he didn't realize that the military had been monitoring him since his landing. Immediately, 2 agents were dispatched to the crash site, but when they arrived, there was no one to be found. While the woman complained, a strange event unfolded. The man quickly grabbed a fire extinguisher from the car and sprayed it, revealing an invisible spacecraft. This was indeed a fruitful discovery. Harry was still unaware that his spaceship had been stolen. When he arrived at the site later that night, he found nothing, not knowing that military snipers had already positioned themselves, ready to make him headline news globally at a moment's notice. At a critical moment, Harry's wife arrived. Originally, he had been drugging her to facilitate his searches for parts, but over time, she developed a resistance to the medication. This time, she secretly followed him to see what tricks Harry was up to. Sensing danger, Harry began arguing with his wife. The monitors mistook their argument for a lover's quarrel and dismissed the idea that Harry was the awaited alien. This misunderstanding saved Harry's life. Returning home, he was sullen and felt like the whole world was against him. It seemed obvious if the heavens had known this being intended to destroy humanity. A single lightning strike wouldn't have been their only response. When he opened his eyes again, he thought he saw a corpse cooking. He faced harsh scolding and was utterly demeaned, ending in anger and a stab of pain. Thinking he couldn't continue this way, Harry started job hunting the next day. He seemed to find the ideal job, yet it seemed he found nothing at all and ended up achieving nothing. Sometime later, the boy came back. His parents had enrolled him in that special school, and now he could only hope that Harry would help him, also expressing that he could sense some energy waves from the fragments. This news excited Harry, who immediately apologized to the boy's parents, admitting his misdiagnosis. They then went to the library where Harry showed him the energy's colors clearly using the fragments. After preparations, they set up a telescope and soon, the boy spotted a glowing object. Harry quickly locked in the location, which turned out to be in the most active part of a glacier. Ignoring the boy's pleas, he stubbornly proceeded. His assistant and her friend witnessed the scene and quickly learned of Harry's destination. Then, disaster struck. The man accidentally fell off a cliff and his blood, shimmering with silver light, spilled blue, while his skin turned a pale blue. The assistant screamed in horror, all because of a small green orb said to power humanity for 5,000 years. But in his hands, it was a weapon of destruction. The moment he picked it up, a spaceship hundreds of kilometers away reacted in alien technology. First contact for all the onlookers. Then, they locked onto the small town based on the energy source. In the valley, the assistant helped Harry treat his wounds while they discussed the whereabouts of the real Harry. Naturally, he wouldn't reveal everything and resorted to a lie to deceive her. Eventually, with the friend's effort, the two managed to escape from the valley. After reaching the surface, they rushed to the hospital. While the friend went in to find a doctor, the assistant quickly drove off with Harry, not wanting to expose his identity prematurely. Meanwhile, military personnel followed the signal to the small town. After disguising themselves and getting familiar with the mayor's family, they sneaked into the boy's room during a bathroom break and found spaceship fragments in a bag of snacks. When the boy returned to his bedroom, he immediately received a security alert from the cameras. Things got worse when the friend felt that the assistant and Harry were hiding something from her. So, in the middle of the night, she stealthily entered Harry's room, confused about why the fridge was locked. She violently broke it open with an axe, only to find ordinary items inside. However, just as she was about to go upstairs, she sensed something suspicious. Sure enough, in the lower levels, she discovered the real Harry's body. The next day, she brought the sheriff to the house, but after a thorough search, they found nothing because the body had already been hidden in the rafters. Once they left, Harry tried to manipulate the energy orb. A wave of energy turned the body into dust, but as he tried to retract the orb, it scorched him. This energy, meant to destroy humans, shouldn't harm his species unless his time on Earth had made him more human-like. If that was the case, activating the destruction device would also annihilate him. Meanwhile, the deputy sheriff found the assistant to retrieve a severed foot previously discovered near the lake. Suspecting a connection with a murder case, that's when the assistant realized the foot belonged to Harry. Recalling their time in the valley and seeing a similar mole while caring for him, the assistant realized she'd been deceived by an alien. Angry, she confronted Harry, whose attempts to calm her only fueled her rage further. Finally, In a fit of anger, she stormed out. In truth, Harry was saddened. During his time on Earth, he had grown fond of the people around him. Now, as his best friend left, he felt he had nothing left to lose and pressed the destruction device, which would eradicate all humans in 90 minutes. He drove his pickup to a military zone. As he watched the gathering soldiers, he lightly waved the destruction orb, sending them flying. He then controlled the spaceship parts to dock and entered the cockpit, feeling a familiar sense of control. A massive wave of armed soldiers couldn't even scratch the protective shield with their gunfire. With a simple wave of his hand, he sent a shockwave that knocked them down.
I can't because of the stupid mission.
Where's your queen?
However, as the soldiers dragged the boy and assistant in front of him, Harry's resolve wavered. Though he was reluctant, he eventually stopped the spaceship, revealing his true form. The soldiers naively thought their toy guns could harm him. Bullets fired at him were simply intercepted by the energy shield, leaving them helpless. Finally, with a wave, the soldiers were blasted away, clearing all danger. The assistant confessed her feelings, understanding Harry's intentions but seeing that he had become more like a regular human, pleaded with him to reconsider. After a struggle within, Harry decided against destroying Earth, persuaded by the assistant's arguments.
Then I won't kill everyone. I should dispose of my device. It will kill everyone on Earth when it detonates in 80 seconds.
Oh my God. Yes, go. Go!
This bizarre turn of events saw the destruction device, capable of causing cataclysmic damage, detonating harmlessly in space. Although he was frustrated by his failed mission, on Earth, Harry had gained something far more valuable.